October 1943. A stone manor house outside Lyon, France. The building serves as regional headquarters for the Gestapo. 3 floors, 22 rooms, guards at every entrance. 3rd floor study. Sturmbannführer Klaus Weber reviews interrogation reports under a brass desk lamp. Outside, a sentry patrols the garden perimeter. The night is quiet. Weber hears footsteps on gravel, then silence. Normal patrol pattern. 40 minutes later, the relief guard arrives. He finds the first sentry dead beside the garden wall. Single wound, left temple, no ejected cartridge on the ground, no blood trail. The man died where he stood. The relief guard heard nothing during his approach. The dogs in the kennel never barked. Weber orders an investigation. The pathologist extracts a .22 caliber bullet, too small for a rifle. Too accurate for a pistol at that range unless the shooter stood within arm's reach. But sentries are trained to challenge anyone approaching within 10 yards. This man died without firing his weapon, without shouting, apparently without even turning toward his killer. Weber increases security protocols. Double guards at all entrances, searchlights on the perimeter, radio check-ins every 15 minutes. 2 weeks later, Obersturmführer Heinrich Vogel dies in his 2nd floor quarters. The guards stationed outside his door heard conversation, then silence. They assumed Vogel had dismissed a visitor. At shift change, they found him dead at his desk. Same wound, left temple, same caliber. The window was locked from inside. The door was locked. No forced entry. The shooter had walked in, fired, and walked out while 2 guards stood 6 feet away in the hallway. The fear that followed was not about firepower. It was about invisibility. Officers who had survived the Eastern Front began requesting transfers. The Gestapo installed mirrors at hallway corners. They required visitors to submit to searches. They banned civilians from headquarters buildings after dark. December 1943, a 3rd officer died in Marseille. January 1944, 2 more in Paris. Each time, single shot, close range, no witnesses, no sound. German occupation forces were being killed by a weapon they could not hear, could not see, and could not defend against. If you're finding this investigation into America's silent warfare fascinating, subscribe and drop a comment below about which classified WB-2 weapon you'd like us to cover next. The Office of Strategic Services faced a brutally simple problem in 1942. Operatives working behind enemy lines required the ability to kill silently. Coastal raids in occupied France demanded stealth. Resistance support missions in Belgium and Holland meant operating within earshot of German garrisons. Jedburgh teams parachuting into enemy territory needed to eliminate sentries without alerting entire compounds. A single gunshot meant mission failure, interrogation, execution. The weapons available were inadequate. The British Welrod pistol achieved exceptional suppression, approximately 73 decibels, quieter than any Allied weapon. But it was a single-shot bolt-action design. Effective range was 7 yards maximum. Beyond 15 feet, accuracy degraded catastrophically. The weapon was designed for contact distance assassination. Press the muzzle against the target's skull and fire. For room distance engagements or multiple targets, the Welrod was useless. Reload time exceeded 3 seconds. The integral suppressor lasted 10 to 15 shots before rubber baffles failed from heat and pressure. The silenced Sten Mark IES offered capacity, 32 rounds in a detachable magazine. But the weapon was 35 inches long with the suppressor attached. Concealment was impossible. More critically, the reciprocating bolt created mechanical noise. Every shot cycled the action. Metal sliding on metal, springs compressing and releasing. The suppressor reduced muzzle blast to 89.5 decibels, but the bolt noise defeated the purpose in close quarters. Fire it on full automatic, and the suppressor baffles would fail within 2 magazines. German sentries might not hear the shot, but they would hear the weapon. American weapons fared no better. The high-standard .22 pistol existed, but without suppression. Thompson submachine guns and Colt 1911 pistols were standard issue, but produced 140 to 160 decibel reports, unusable for covert operations. What OSS Director William Donovan needed was a weapon that combined well-rod quietness with repeating fire, room distance accuracy, and concealability. In 1942, nothing in the Allied arsenal came close. Donovan issued specifications to American manufacturers. The weapon must be suppressed to near silence. It must fire multiple rounds without reloading. It must be accurate enough to guarantee kills from 10 to 15 yards. It must be small enough to conceal under a coat. And it must be reliable enough to function in the field without maintenance. The contract went to High Standard Manufacturing Company of Hamden, Connecticut. A target pistol manufacturer that had never built a military weapon was about to solve a problem. British and American arsenals could not. High Standard Manufacturing Company was an unlikely weapons contractor. Founded in 1926, the company built precision target pistols for Olympic competition and recreational shooting. Their Model B-22 pistol was known for accuracy, reliability, and elegant design. Competitive shooters preferred them over more expensive European imports. When the OSS contract arrived in 1942, High Standard had no experience with suppressors, no military production infrastructure, and no connections to weapons research. What they had was John Howe, a staff engineer who understood that the .22 long rifle cartridge solved half the problem before any metal was machined. The .22 long rifle was inherently subsonic. Standard velocity ammunition produced muzzle velocities of 1,080 feet per second, below the 1,125 feet per second threshold where bullets create sonic cracks. This was critical. German and British suppressed weapons failed because they fired supersonic ammunition. The 9mm Parabellum in the silenced Sten traveled at 1,200 feet per second. Physics dictated that no suppressor could eliminate the crack produced when a projectile broke the sound barrier. The .22 long rifle never reached that velocity. No sonic crack existed to suppress. More importantly, .22 long rifle ammunition was already in American military supply chains. The OSS issued .22 pistols and rifles for survival kits and training purposes. No special procurement was required, no subsonic cartridge development. Standard military ball ammunition worked perfectly. The ammunition advantage extended to logistics. A single operative could carry 200 rounds of .22 long rifle in the space required for 50 rounds of .45 ACP. Weight and volume mattered when infiltrating enemy territory on foot. Howe's suppressor design drew from Hiram Percy Maxim's patents filed in 1909, but incorporated manufacturing improvements unavailable in the pre-World War I era. The tube measured 5.5 inches long and 1.125 inches in diameter, constructed from seamless steel tubing threaded at the rear to attach via a collar replacing the barrel bushing. Inside, 13 stacked aluminum baffles with precision-drilled apertures created expansion chambers. Propellant gases entering the suppressor encountered the first baffle and expanded into the chamber surrounding it. Pressure dropped. Temperature decreased. The next baffle forced another expansion. By the time gases exited the muzzle, pressure had dissipated to near ambient levels. The baffle material was critical. Aluminum was light, machinable, and thermally conductive. Heat dissipated rapidly. Erosion was minimal. The design eliminated rubber components entirely. Contemporary suppressors like the Wellrod used rubber wipes that degraded after 10 to 15 shots. Howe's all-metal construction lasted thousands of rounds without performance degradation. The suppressor added 5.3 ounces to the weapon. Total weight with suppressor and loaded 10-round magazine was 2.4 pounds, light enough to carry concealed, heavy enough to mitigate the already minimal recoil of the .22 cartridge. The designation was HDM, High Standard Model D Military. The weapon that would terrify German officers began production in summer 1943. The High Standard HDM retained the Model B pistol frame with modifications for military service. The barrel was threaded for suppressor attachment and extended to 6.75 inches to maximize bullet velocity within subsonic limits. The suppressor screwed onto a threaded collar that replaced the standard barrel bushing. Total assembled length was 12.25 inches. Disassembled, the suppressor and pistol fit separately into a standard briefcase or coat pockets. Field stripping required no tools. Unscrew the suppressor, remove the magazine, pull back the slide to extract the chambered round. Reassembly took 15 seconds. The action was simple blowback. The slide reciprocated rearward from recoil, ejected the spent casing, and chambered a fresh round from the magazine. Unlike the Sten, the HDM's slide moved inside the frame. No external reciprocating mass. No visible mechanical movement beyond the ejection port. The sound produced was a muted click, audible only to the shooter. The trigger was single action. Light, crisp break at 3.5 pounds. Sights were fixed, non-adjustable, black front blade, rear notch. Adequate for the weapon's intended engagement distances. The magazine held 10 rounds. Detachable, steel construction, spring-loaded follower. High Standard manufactured extended magazines holding 13 rounds, but standard capacity was deemed sufficient for operational requirements. The grip angle matched the standard Model B. Ergonomics were unchanged from the competition pistol. Muscle memory from training transferred directly to combat use. Early 1943 testing occurred at OSS facilities in Maryland. Engineers measured sound levels at various distances. At the muzzle, the report registered 117 decibels, equivalent to a jackhammer. At 10 feet, it dropped to 85 decibels, the volume of heavy traffic. At 25 feet, observers could not reliably identify the sound as gunfire. In enclosed spaces, walls absorbed and diffused the report further. Testers firing from inside a building reported that personnel outside could not hear the shots. The suppressor eliminated muzzle flash entirely. Night firing produced no visible signature. Accuracy testing demonstrated effective range of 50 feet for headshots, 75 feet for center mass hits. The .22 long rifle lacked the energy to reliably incapacitate with body shots. Operational doctrine emphasized headshots exclusively. The training protocol was explicit. Approach from behind, close to within 6 feet. Aim for the occipital bone at the base of the skull. Fire once. The bullet penetrated the skull, severed the brain stem, and caused instant incapacitation. No second shot required. No struggle. No noise beyond the suppressed report. OSS instructors trained operatives on shot placement using ballistic gelatin targets. The .22 long rifle penetrated 4 inches of gelatin at contact distance, sufficient to reach the brain through any skull entry point. Testers documented 0 failures to penetrate human skull bone in cadaver studies. The lethalities debate surrounding .22 caliber was irrelevant at close range with proper shot placement. Production began in summer 1943 under security classifications that remain partially redacted. Total production numbers are estimated between 2,000 and 3,000 units. Distribution was limited to OSS operatives, British SOE personnel, and selected resistance group leaders in occupied Europe. The weapon was never issued to conventional military units. Serial numbers suggest manufacture continued through 1944, with final deliveries in early 1945. The HDM entered operational service in late 1943. Distribution records remain classified, but captured German documents reveal the weapon's impact on occupation forces. A Wehrmacht internal security memo dated February 12, 1944, describes a silent weapon of unknown type being employed by resistance elements and suspected Allied operatives. The memo notes that sentries at installations in Lyon, Marseille, and Paris had been found dead at their posts without alerting nearby guards. Recommendations included shortening patrol routes to maintain visual contact between sentries and increasing lighting around sensitive facilities. A Gestapo security report from March 1944 is more explicit. The document references assassinations by soundless means targeting officers in regional headquarters. The report suggests American involvement based on the precision of the attacks and the apparent training of the operatives. It recommends restricting access to headquarters buildings, implementing identification protocols for all personnel, and prohibiting after-hours civilian presence in secured areas. The recommendations reveal an organization adapting to a threat it could not identify. The operational pattern was consistent. Officers died in their quarters, in their offices, at close range, with single head wounds. Autopsies recovered .22 caliber bullets. The small caliber initially confused German investigators. Standard military pistols fired 9mm or larger cartridges. The .22 was associated with target shooting and small game hunting, not military operations. German forces had no equivalent weapon. Their suppressed firearms remained experimental prototypes firing supersonic ammunition that produced audible cracks. The concept of a truly silent military pistol was outside their operational doctrine. The psychological impact escalated beyond the body count. Officers who had commanded troops through campaigns in Poland, France, and Russia began requesting transfers from occupation duty. The Eastern Front, despite its brutality, offered comprehensible danger. Artillery, snipers, partisans with rifles. Threats that could be seen, heard, and countered. The silent weapon offered none of these. It killed without warning. The shooter could be anyone. A French clerk delivering documents, a cleaning woman, a Vichy official visiting from Paris. Trust disintegrated. Headquarters installations implemented increasingly paranoid security measures. Visitors were searched regardless of rank or credentials. Meetings were relocated to buildings without ground floor windows. Officers traveling between locations requested armed escorts even for 100-yard walks across secured compounds. The measures failed. In April 1944, an Abwehr intelligence officer died in his vehicle while parked inside a guarded motor pool in Toulouse. The driver, 50 feet away refueling another vehicle, heard nothing. In May, 2 officers died in separate incidents in Nancy and Dijon. Same pattern. Close range, head wounds, no witnesses. The weapon's limitations had become tactical advantages. Low recoil allowed rapid follow-up shots if the first missed. The subsonic ammunition eliminated the sonic signature that betrayed other suppressed weapons. The simple blowback action produced no mechanical noise. The 10-round magazine provided capacity that single-shot designs could not match. And the .22 caliber, dismissed by conventional military thinking, proved lethally effective with proper shot placement. German forces could not counter what they could not hear, see, or predict. The high-standard HDM succeeded where most classified weapons programs failed. It worked. It deployed. It killed. Unlike experimental systems that never left testing facilities, the HDM entered operational service and achieved its design objectives. Post-war declassified OSS records confirm HDM issue to Jedburgh teams operating in France, SOE operatives in Belgium and Holland, and selected resistance group leaders across occupied Europe. The weapon remained classified until the 1970s. Production numbers are still partially redacted. Surviving examples reside in military museums and private collections, valued at $15,000 to $25,000 per unit. The HDM's effectiveness derived from balanced compromises. The Welrod achieved lower sound levels, approximately 73 decibels compared to the HDM's 85 decibels at 10 feet. But the Welrod was single-shot with 3-second reload time. Effective range was 7 yards. The silenced Sten offered firepower, 32 rounds of 9mm ammunition, but mechanical bolt noise defeated stealth in close quarters, and the weapon measured 35 inches long. The HDM balanced all factors: 10-round capacity, 50-foot effective range, 12-inch assembled length, sound level low enough to avoid detection in operational environments. The .22 long rifle caliber remained misunderstood throughout the war and continues to be dismissed in modern tactical analysis. Critics focus on the cartridge's limited energy, 130 foot-pounds at the muzzle compared to 350 foot-pounds for 45 ACP. The analysis ignores shot placement. At ranges under 10 yards with proper aim, skull penetration is guaranteed. Brainstem severance causes instant incapacitation. No follow-up shot required. OSS training doctrine emphasized this explicitly. The HDM was not designed for firefights. It was designed for assassination. Contact distance, single shot, silent death. German forces never developed an effective counter. Their suppressed weapons remained experimental. The MP40 with suppressor was tested at Kummersdorf in 1943 but never standardized. Mauser 98K rifle suppressors existed in prototype quantities but saw virtually no field issue. The fundamental problem was ammunition. Standard 9mm Parabellum and 7.92 with 57mm Mauser cartridges were supersonic. Without subsonic ammunition in inventory, German suppressor development hit an insurmountable wall. American engineers had recognized that the ammunition determined the suppressor's potential, not the other way around. The legacy extends beyond World War II. The HDM influenced post-war suppressed weapons development. The concept of integral suppression using subsonic ammunition became standard doctrine. Modern suppressors for .22 caliber weapons achieve sound levels comparable to the HDM despite 8 decades of technological advancement. The Ruger Mark IV with suppressor, issued to Special Operations Forces today, produces similar acoustic signatures and fills an identical operational role: close quarters assassination, silent elimination of sentries, missions where noise equals failure. The psychological impact was disproportionate to the weapon's technical specifications. Fewer than 3,000 units were produced. Documented kills number in the dozens, possibly low hundreds. But the terror spread through entire occupation commands. Officers altered behavior. Security protocols consumed resources. Trust collapsed. The weapon succeeded not through body count, but through fear. German forces could defend against partisans with rifles, against bombers, against conventional military threats. They could not defend against invisibility. The HDM represented American pragmatism applied to unconventional warfare. British engineers built the well rod for perfection in suppression, but sacrificed practicality. American engineers built the HDM for operational effectiveness and accepted compromises. The result was a weapon that worked in the field, that operatives trusted, that killed reliably. In occupied Europe, that was enough. The officers who died never heard the shot. Their comrades never identified the threat. And the weapon that terrified them was a .22 caliber target pistol modified by engineers who had never built a military firearm before 1942.